Construction safety, particularly construction safety and heavy civil underground work, really demands a high level of skill and awareness. And we're certainly seeing from the trades the need to make sure that they do have the skill sets that are necessary to be able to work this equipment safely each shift. We need to make sure as owner and our prime contractors that as they come out of the trades that they are getting the training that's necessary, but at the same time when they come on the job sites, recognize that each job site is different. And they need to know what the hazards are, the specific hazards are on the site itself. When you come in to do heavy civil underground work, there is an acute awareness that you need to know what's going on with the level of the equipment, the spreads of the equipment, the crew responsibilities, the chores at hand. And everybody needs to know what their chores are, know their role, stay in their role, and not be afraid to make sure they know what those roles are as they work around a lot of this heavily specialized equipment that's being used these days to do heavy civil underground construction in urban areas.
Emergency and evacuation plans are always site-specific and vary greatly based on the size and scope of the tunneling operation. Contractors, along with the contracting agency, will develop site-specific rescue and safety plans based on specifications, regulations, and unique site conditions. Because tunnel diameter and shaft depths vary greatly, detailed plans for emergencies and evacuations are done specifically for the location being worked on. All tunnel projects require a tunnel rescue plan involving regular drills. The type of drills and the amount of personnel involved depend on the size and complexity of the job site operations. Additionally, companies must decide whether or not to perform rescue activities themselves or contract this responsibility to private or public agencies that perform these types of services. In the event of using a third-party entity, the contractor must assess the skill level and capability of the rescue team to ensure that they have the capabilities and training to perform the rescue service. In the event of a third party handling rescue services, it is essential for the contractor and the rescue service to jointly develop the plan and to implement the plan on site. Careful coordination is required between the two entities to ensure a seamless rescue operation. An assessment regarding response time and rescue equipment staged on site is an important part of this process. Once these details have been worked out, this information must be given to each team member and a general orientation done to all the workers, staff, and visitors on site. Proficiency drills are required to ensure the plan that has been developed will actually work in practice. Fire Department Rescue Team. Many people working on job sites assume that a call to 911 is the only way that a rescue can or will be performed. In fact, the opposite is true. Most fire departments, because of size and location to this type of work, do not have the rescue-trained personnel or the necessary equipment to perform this type of rescue. While these departments are staffed with highly trained professional firefighters, they are not always able to perform tunnel rescue. Currently, there are only 2 known departments in the United States that perform this type of rescue. These departments are Seattle Fire Department in Washington State and Columbus Fire Department in Ohio. It is important to note that even though these departments are trained and have the capability of this type of rescue, they will not perform a tunnel rescue unless they are specifically contracted to do so prior to the start of the job. It is possible the contracting agency may enter into an agreement in lieu of the contractor doing so. In either case, this must be in place before they will initiate a tunnel rescue. Most tunnel rescue is done by the contractor's staff that has been trained to do so. If a tunnel rescue would be needed, the contractor rescue team would enter the tunnel area. The injured person would be loaded into a Stokes litter basket and carried or lifted out of the tunnel through the designated route. Once the injured worker is above ground, the fire department would take over. Variety of self-rescuers. In the event of a tunnel evacuation order based on gases or contaminated air, it may become necessary for workers to don self-contained self-rescuers to evacuate the tunnel area. There are different types of rescuers based on the types of airborne gases or hazards. The type of self-rescuer seen here may be different than the one you will be using, but are very similar in practice and use. As part of your emergency training, it will be required for you to demonstrate proficiency of donning the mask in the event of an emergency. This practice is vital to ensure that you are familiar with the proper function of the rescuer. In an emergency event, you may become disoriented or not be able to see well, which may make it difficult to properly work the rescuer. Without this practice, you may incorrectly don and activate the rescuer, leading to injury or death. Emergency teams on standby, rescue equipment and locations. Emergency teams and personnel will need to be identified and an assessment of response time completed. This is critical in knowing the response time of the rescue team. When work is being performed in the tunnel and shaft, standby rescue teams shall always be available. First aid, rescue, and emergency supplies in the tunnel are usually located on the TBM and on the Loki. Other designated areas based on accessibility may be determined to be necessary depending on the size and scope of the project. Above ground, there are additional storage areas that have emergency rescue equipment staged. This equipment is for use by the rescue team and the fire department.
Assistant Chief A.D. Vickery with the Seattle Fire Department. I'm currently the risk manager for the department, also in charge of safety, health and safety, and the training division. Fire departments in this state are under a specific set of rules called vertical standards, which limit what we can do unless we are trained and equipped to engage in an activity. Our partnership with the contractor, the skilled workers, has been one that looked at all of those things in a collaborative manner to focus on the safety of the individual in the tunnel or engaged in tunneling work. This requires an enormous amount of training on our part, but we train continuously. So it was a skill set and tools that were brought as a result of it. We increased our capability to deal with incidents that may occur in the public environment, not only in the tunneling project. We've built a partnership with the contractor and their skilled laborers to make sure that all of these areas are being looked at. It is about taking care of each other. We feel that we all share a responsibility for the health and safety of the people that work on here. And ultimately, it's the guy or gal that's down in that hole that we should be focusing on, not who can we point a finger at that I thought you were supposed to do it or you were supposed to do it. There is no single person or agency that makes it a safe job, and in the event that something unpredictable occurs, that we aren't wondering what each of us is going to do. We operate as a team together, even though we're from different agencies and have a little bit different perspective on things. I can't urge enough on the prevention piece. And that really means good safety breathing, good safety practices, making sure that people are accountable for that, both personally and from a supervisory role, is incredibly important. I have an enormous amount of respect for not only the engineers who design these projects, but the guys and gals who build them. With that respect comes a responsibility that if something, forbid, does go wrong, we're doing everything in our due diligence to make sure that we can assist them. In my world, there are times when you can't do anything, and that's very disappointing. But I don't want to be in a situation where I didn't plan for, train for, equip for an ability to actually engage and make the difference between a minor injury, a serious injury, or a death. I can't say enough about the people that I have met in the tunneling industry and their commitment to getting the job done and doing it as safely as possible. We're beside you, down in that hole. You just don't see us there. We train for it. We respect what you do. You're our peers. Work safely.